Pakistan versus the Taliban.
In just a few hours' time, Richard Holbrooke, the new US Special Representative, will start a tour of the region. His task, to sort the mess out.
The mess in Pakistan. Next on Global Pulse. A comparison of how broadcasters worldwide are covering the Taliban in Pakistan's Swat Valley. February 11th, President Obama's envoy arrives in Pakistan. He could have spent the whole day reviewing the violence of just the past 2 weeks.
A bridge in northwest Pakistan has been blown up, it's thought, by Islamic militants.
Pakistan Taliban had claimed on Saturday that they had killed a Polish geologist who was kidnapped in September.
A suicide bombing in the Pakistani city of Dera Ghazi Khan has left 24 people dead and dozens wounded.
The suicide bomber rammed his truck into a security checkpost.
Pakistani army says the shells were fired by pro-Taliban militants.
U.S. news coverage has mostly focused on the Taliban's advances in the rugged tribal regions of western Pakistan that border Afghanistan. But the greater threat to the region and the world may lie in a more hospitable place, as the BBC, China's Asia Today, and Al Jazeera English reported.
It used to be dubbed the Switzerland of Pakistan for its snow-capped mountains and clear lakes, but the Swat Valley is now on the front line of the Pakistani military's battle with Islamist fighters.
People living in the Swat Valley in northern Pakistan continue to flee fighting between Pakistan's army and militants. A senior government official in the area estimates 30,000 persons left their homes in recent days.
Caught in the middle of this bloody conflict are ordinary people, men, women, and even old men on crutches.
This is not the aftermath of a war. It's an attack on education. In the last 18 months, Taliban militants in Swat have destroyed nearly 200 schools. Some boys have been forced out of the classroom, but the target is mostly girls. And 2 weeks ago, the militants banned all above the age of 7 from going to school. So in Swat, the fear is that a generation of women could go uneducated, strengthening the Taliban's grip on this part of Pakistan.
These armed men can swoop down on any village to dispense their brand of justice. In what has become a common sight, a decapitated policeman's body is placed in the middle of a city square, and with a message to the new provincial government in Peshawar. They call themselves the Taliban, but there are suspicions that other powers are fueling this problem within Pakistani territories under the garb of the Taliban.
Who are those other powers? On NBC's Meet the Press, military expert Tom Ricks explains.
The Pakistani military, in many cases, is the problem. You have a lot of al-Qaeda and Taliban sympathizers wearing Pakistani military uniforms.
How could the Taliban gain so much power so far from Afghanistan? ABC News and Pakistani journalist Ahmed Rashid, speaking at UC Berkeley, say you don't have to look much farther than the Pakistani authorities.
The problem with the military is that in order to further their foreign policy aims in Kashmir, towards India and towards Afghanistan, they have fueled Islamic extremist groups. And that, of course, has created a blowback in the country. I mean, you can't create militant groups and then expect them to just stay outside the country and fight foreigners. They will want to do the same thing internally. They will want to set up an Islamic State at home.
Swat has become a safe haven for militants from around the region. The Pakistani army says it's going after the militants with tanks and U.S. helicopters, but they've made so little progress, Swat's provincial government accuses the army of collaborating with the enemy.
I'm not willing to accept that our military cannot catch a handful of militants and extremists.
The army argues it needs more help from local citizens. Whoever is right, this valley, turned front line in the war on terrorism, is now all but lost.
Now, President Obama must focus the war on terrorism in Afghanistan and Pakistan, or the consequences could be dire. Ricks again.
If you lose Pakistan, you end up having the Mujahideen, Islamic extremists, with nuclear weapons. I think potentially Obama's Vietnam is Pakistan.
For Global Pulse, I'm Erin Coker.
This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only US network dedicated to global and national news, uncompromising documentaries, and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.